do I cast a pod anyway? And other important questions on Fragments of Silicon.
All right, welcome to another installment of Fragments of Silicon, the European interviews. Joining us this week is Mads Laumann of Laumania. Hello?
Hello.
Sorry, you cut out there for a sec.
Oh, I was just saying hello as you were saying welcome to me.
Yes. Anyway, right, so how we like to get started, we like to get to know the people behind the game studios and whatnot, and we start by asking this particular question. What got you interested in video games, both on a personal and a professional level?
Well, as a kid of the 90s, I grew up in 80s and 90s. I grew up with video games and always had this idea of it could be nice to actually build one of myself someday. So so that's I think it's a pretty classic reason for for making games. And then but I didn't, after school, high school, or whatever, gymnasium as we call it here in Denmark, um I didn't went to how to make games school. So because that back then that was very hard to get into. Still think it is, but so I took a more straight way, doing some got a degree in computer science. So I learned how to code, and that is actually my day job to build enterprise systems. And then all the years I've been doing that, I have also in the evening hours and weekends and all that spare time built a lot of different minor projects, many of them being games because that's the most fun. So
Right.
yeah.
And as far as along that, how long have you been doing, let's say, minor games prototyping? Kind of the run up to the thing we are featuring today.
Well, I started when I was studying, so that must be 2005 or something like that. So like 15, 16 years or something like that. On an on-off base, because then I got some children in the meantime, so that takes time and stuff like that. So it's not like I've been doing it for 15 years straight, but I had some years off and on and stuff like that. So,
Hmm.
but yeah, started 15 years ago.
And I suppose the next question here is what finally precipitated a maneuveration over to making a full-fledged commercial release?
So you cut out a little, but how to go from just making minor games to doing an actual released game?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, yeah, most of the things I've done, as many other developers doing things in their spare time, are just hobby projects that just never gets past your own computer. But I have done some other games in the past that are actually released for phones, like a small game and app and stuff like that. But I never made a Steam game, and I never did a 3D game, and I never did a paid game before this one, because I was kind of waiting for to come up with the game that was actually that would make sense to do that with. And Fireworks Mania turned out to be that one.
Right. And I suppose what inspired you specifically to make Fireworks Mania?
Yeah, that's a little funny because personally, I'm not that much into fireworks really. Yes, I like to watch it, looks great and all that, but I'm not fireworks expert or anything like that. But it actually started with my oldest kid because he have an age where fireworks start to become a little interesting. So of course, he cannot do a lot of stuff in real life. So he asked me if I could help him find a game where he could play around with fireworks. That was actually his words: play around with fireworks. And I said, well, okay, we can see we can find a game where we can do that because that, yeah, I can see that sounds fun. I've been 13 before, so I know. So we tried to find that, and I couldn't find anything. I could find some VR games. I could find Gmod, fireworks mod, garage mod with fireworks mod, but it wasn't really that good and fun, or uh, pretty badly made, and many of them old also. So because I've had these years before making a lot of games, I was thinking, well, maybe I could do this. I immediately started thinking about, okay, how could I actually do this, technically and stuff like that. And then I did a little um, proof of concept where there was some yeah, basically missiles flying around acting as rockets because I didn't have any firework rocket models. And that was pretty fun with the physics and stuff like that. And the thing that actually convinced me that this could something was that when I showed it to my kids, usually when I show them my games, they just quickly look and say, yeah, that looks fine. And then they're off to doing other stuff because they don't care. But this one, I actually had a hard time getting my machine back. So it it had something that was fun even in these early stages. And I could also feel myself that it was something satisfying about this firing off stuff. So yeah, so there I thought, okay, this could actually be a game I should try and do a little more work on, a little more serious. And yeah, so that's how I started.
Okay, fair enough. Um, I suppose a bit of a side question here is how accessible are fireworks in the nation of Denmark?
It's it is legal, and it was not, like Germany and Netherlands and stuff like that. They had it banned this year due to Corona and all that.
Right.
But actually in Denmark it was not banned, and apparently I figure out later on it's because we have so few damages due to fireworks each year, so they didn't had to do that. It's like we are 5-6 million people in Denmark, and I think it was like 20 uh, cases on the hospital last year. So it was like nothing. So it was legal as always. However, I can remember there was a big accident some years ago where they kind of made it much more strictly how much fireworks can be and stuff like that. So we can't do all the crazy stuff that German and all the other ones can do, but we have fireworks and it is legal to fire off, but only the day of New Year. So
Hmm, interesting. I mean, over here it depends on the state. Like
yeah.
in some places, fireworks are completely banned. Some places, like where I am, there really isn't a limit to what you can do with a firework. Uh, as New Year's and Fourth of July reminds me, and my colleagues, I'm sure.
Yeah, for you guys, 4th of July is the big fireworks day, right? Or is it
That's
New
one.
Year's?
It's both.
Okay.
It much to the bane of pets everywhere.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anyway, so what uh, made you want to make Fireworks Mania here a full-fledged 3D game?
Well, I was thinking, as my son were kind of interesting in this game, I was thinking, well, I guess there are other kids and boys out there having it the same way. So I thought, well, back then it's 2 years ago since I started this, so there was no corona or lockdown or anything. So just it was just a normal life, back then. And I was still thinking that that there must be a lot of boys and typically male adult males wanting to play around with fireworks. So I thought, well, maybe that could actually be a game that people would play. And then I started out by sending out a free demo to get, kind of test the market. Was there actually a thing here? Because, when you get when I did my research, as I told in the beginning, I didn't find any games um, uh, like this, and that can mean two things: there are no market, or there is a market but nobody found it. Typically, it's the first one. Typically, somebody tried but didn't. There was nothing to sell there, so they didn't bother. So I was of course afraid of that, but I was still so convinced with my own, feeling of how this game was feeling to play. um, and so I was saying, okay, I think there is a market here. I could see there was a pretty big community around Gmod and Fireworks mod. So I was thinking, well, these people must love to play another game with Fireworks, where it might look a little better and stuff like that, because Gmod is an old game on an old engine. So I guess I could do it better than that on a new engine. And then I was just, thinking, well, I think actually this could sell. But believe me, I've told many people about this game for the past 2 years, and most of them, they say, yeah, cool, good idea. But but I can kind of sense that they were like, who wants to play around with fireworks? But well, it turns out there's actually a lot of people who want to play around with fireworks. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and also another thing that made me wanna actually do it as a full game, quote unquote, was that also this well, the thing is, when you develop games, the easiest thing is to do is to come up with new stuff. So, scope of the game just grow, 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 meaning that you will never finish the game. You will never complete. You will never get the game to a state where you feel now it's ready to release. And at some point prior to actually doing this game, I it sounds weird, but I kind of discovered myself that um, a game can be a fairly small thing. The price just have to fit, and you need to sell it for what it is. But a game just playing around with fireworks is enough for a game. You know, uh, it doesn't have to have 100 levels and online multiplayer and MMO, MPG thingy and VR and everything. Well, it might evolve into some of that, but the initial release and doesn't actually have to be more than that. If people can pay $10 and have fun for a few hours, well, isn't that okay? And I was thinking, well, I would pay for that myself. I've done that many times. For smaller games, you just go in, play around. Yeah, that's funny. That's it. Move on. In Denmark, it's you can't even go to the movie theater for that price. So and watch a movie in 1.5 hours or something like that. So I was kind of convincing myself that this is actually okay. Doing a small quote unquote game, and as long as you don't, what I really try to do is not oversell the game. And if you read the description of the game, it pretty much say what it is. You can play with fireworks, build shows, blow stuff up. That's it. um, but for some people, there are many people spending 30, 40 hours in the game already. So it, yeah, that sandbox thing makes it very replayable for a lot of people.
Uh, I mean, I can think of a few fireworks games, but talking like, do you know a game called Fantavision?
Nope.
Uh, yeah, that was a fireworks game that was released as a PS2 launch title.
Oh yeah, I heard about that. I didn't. I haven't. We had a PS2 back then, but I never tried that game or anything. But I have run into it in my research. I couldn't just remember the name,
Yeah,
but it was more like setting of fireworks, right? You just saw it from the side and that's it, right?
yeah,
Just like.
it was like a 2D game.
Mm-hmm.
This is actually probably the most elaborate fireworks game I've ever seen. But I will also say that I have not seen many fireworks games for whatever reason. Like,
Yeah, and that's it. Why haven't anybody created this before? I don't know. I
I
don't know.
mean, it's probably a mystery of the ages. I mean, as far as workability, well, I mean, we're in an era where such things are far more workable.
Hmm.
You know,
You know what I
um,
mean, technology-wise?
yeah. Also,
Yeah, yeah,
also from a gameplay perspective, you can get away with a more unfocused casual bent than you could do in times previous. Like,
yeah,
one example would be if this game came out as an arcade game, or like on consoles previously, you'd probably have to have some sort of goal or
hmm,
some sort of score, you know,
yeah,
some sort of quote unquote point to the
exactly.
game.
Yeah, it's too small for console. Yeah, for sure.
Oh,
Yeah,
too
maybe
small.
not today, but yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, so what kind of fireworks can you actually simulate here?
Well, in the game currently, you can have like there's rockets and there is cake slash batteries, depending on where you're from, what you call it. And
Hmm.
then I have these firecrackers, which are both these minor ones and then more closer to bomb-like thingies. And then I have something called, I can't remember what I call it because I changed the name before launch, but these small things, like novelties, yeah. So like small things like Roman candles and other, I can't remember the name of it, but these small, um, not screamers, sappers, snappers, or what is it? No, no, sapper. I can't remember the name. These flying up in the air. Um, and then I have made something I call tubes. I don't know the actual word for them, but it's like a pre-made tube with one shot in. And then I just included props. So that's what in the game currently. But as you might also know, I'm still working on the game. It's not like I'm done with it. I just released it to kind of see how many would actually buy this or are interested in it. Um, and then it's
Well,
just my plan to just continue on it.
well, is it in early access or is it 1.0?
No, it's more like a 1.0, but this 1.0 is a little. I did something a little different here and it might be a mistake and it might be smart. I don't know. The thing is, this 1.0 is kind of a little old way of seeing it because no game 1.0 makes sense back when you shipped a game on a disc, right? Because you had no you had no option of updating that game afterwards, right? So back then it made sense with this 1.0, 2.0 thingy. But today most games are more kind of a continuing thing. Games get updated all the time because it's so easy. So I was thinking, actually, I was very much considering early access, but then I talked to some people and and they were kind of like, well, it's a little underselling because it is actually a fun and pretty solid game already. It's just a small game. You know, it doesn't have any major bugs or anything. It works and you can do whatever it shows in the trailer. So everything is there. And another thing, when I was looking into Steam and trying to fill out this early access, you have to fill out some questions that you need to answer, which are then shown, on Steam. And then they were kind of asking, well, so what will be the difference between the early access and the full game? And I was like, well, I don't know because my plan, if I went early access, it would just be a fluent transition from early access to the full game. So at some point I had to choose now is the full game because I'm doing this single-handed. I'm one man and I do it in my spare time. So if I had to do an early access and then say to people, just wait, in the full game there will be these many levels and this more amount of fireworks, that would mean that I had to stop at some point, say, okay, now I focus on the full game, and then it would be silent for me more or less, like for maybe a year. That's weird, right? because I don't have any many people that can work on things in parallel and stuff like that. So I actually picked the full release version of the game because with the argument that it is a full game. It's just a small game. And then I would just update it from there, if that makes sense.
I think
I
I
know
get
it's a
what
little
you're
different,
saying.
but
Yeah, I think I get what you're saying. Like, the game is essentially done in terms of its core concepts and
Mhm.
all that. What you're doing now is post-release updating, which is, yeah, is fairly common, even with games that are not in early access. In fact,
Mhm.
we just interviewed a guy on Wednesday who has the similar situation. So, yeah, it's not uncommon.
Yeah, and I
And
also have, because the way of Steam works, you could say, well, what if I change the game too much? People bought it and then it changed too much. First of all, I of course do things that I think will only make the game better, of course. Um, but if for some reason some people say, "Oh, the old version was much better. I liked it much more before all this new fancy fireworks or whatever," Steam have this branching thing. So if somebody complains about it, I can just make, a branch in Steam of that version and then say to this guy, "Perfect. You can just switch to the branch in here. Here's a code. You have your version here. It will never be updated, because no promise of updating stuff. Um, and he can have his old version that he liked the most, and then all the rest of the guys can follow along on the new updates. So that is my approach. It's a little different. I don't know if I've actually seen anybody do this before, but I just thought it made sense in my case. The early access was a little too weird for some. Yeah, it didn't really fit either. So
okay, so along those lines, what are you planning on adding in the near future?
well, since launch, I have already updated it many times with new fireworks and stuff. Latest yesterday, with some few new rockets and cakes for as a Chinese New Year celebration, as that was yesterday/today. So you can see the ones I'm a little behind here on the stream, but all these starting with the Auxiliator, and I can't really remember the name I come up with. Auxiliator and Ox Wanna Go and some other stuff. Rockets in the rocket section, there's also two. You can kind of see them. They look kind of the same, have the same kind of style to them.
Right.
So these four was just added like yesterday. Well, I added them before, but I pushed the update yesterday. Um, but that's only the smaller things I do, and also fix some bugs. And I also added, inverted the Y mouse control because some people can't play without that. So I added that too. So minor things like that, and that's something I do, on a yeah continuous basis, more or less. Again, I'm only one guy, so it's limited what I can do. But of bigger things, what I'm working on right now is a save and load system. So because people, I very much listen to what the community is asking for, and then I hold that up against what I think makes sense. Because you can't do everything people ask. If I did everything, nobody would play the game really. So I have to pick the thing that makes sense, that are doable and would make most people happy. And a save load system, so you can somehow save your show for later, maybe share it, and you can also kind of see it, load it again, do tweaks, save it again, and then fire it off again. So you can, this way you can do actually more coordinated stuff, because you have a way of actually trying it out and see how it works and then retry it, if that makes sense. So that's the biggest thing. That's the next big thing I'm working on. Um, but I have a roadmap of also I want to add mod support. It's a game that pretty much is written for that. It would make sense. And then multiplayer at some point is also something I need to look into. But I'm not promising anything on that. I'm promising I would look into it. But how actually will turn out and how good it will be, and I will only release it if I think it's good enough. Time will tell. as I said, people bought the game, and that's also what I tell people all the time. Watch the trailer, watch video of people playing. If you think it looks fine as is, buy it. If not, wait. Let's see what comes later on. So I
Makes
don't want to
sense.
force people to buy it with some promises on what might come in the future. I hate that. So they have to like it now, else wait with buying it.
Okay. And well, how's the game been doing so far?
Well, I of course cannot share any numbers, but it was on the front page of Steam for kind of a week or something like that. And then it got back again in some regions for a month. So it did pretty well. And you can also, I don't know if you've seen, but it's also been played by many, many big YouTubers. And that's, of course, also affected in the download numbers and stuff like that. So it's doing really great. It's not like I'm quitting my job or anything, but it's doing it's actually doing better than expected, I would say. So that's fine.
That's good. And I suppose on a more personal note, how did your children react to fireworks mania here?
Well, yeah. The thing is that they have been testing it for 2 years, so they are kind of not super happy about it anymore because they are kind of tired of getting asked to test stuff all the time. So they are not the biggest players of it right now, not anymore. But they have played it a lot, so that's fine. But I think they pretty. I think they think it's pretty cool that their dad make this little game here because their friends are playing it at school and stuff like that. So that's pretty nice.
Okay. And I suppose what's been the reaction from like Steam goers? Have people been leaving Steam reviews and stuff?
hmm Yeah, the current status on the Steam reviews is overwhelmingly positive. So that's like I think it have like 97%. 97% are positive of the reviews, and I have 649. I can see reviews. So that's pretty nice. But that's also that's also why I want this game to hit the right people. This game is not for everybody. You know, um, if you come into this expecting all these crazy stuff you can do in AAA games and stuff like that, well, this game is not for you. You have to be creative because this game doesn't have a goal, as we talked about. So the goal is what you do. You play around. Basically, I just provide the tools, and you have to come up with that. Some people love that, some people hate that. So I of course want to find the people that actually like that kind of game, and that's what I'm trying to do with the description. um, but as you can see in the reviews, most of the people buying this game really really enjoy it. So that's really nice. um, and that's also what I saw when I tested out the demo last year. People just, for some reason, have a tendency of making videos for YouTube of this game. Maybe because it's a little unique, because there are no other games like this. Um, but at least people are very, very happy about making videos of the game. I've never seen so many people uh, giggle like little girls, grown men giggle like little girls when their FPS goes to 1. Um, I've seen that many times on live streams and videos and stuff like that. Yeah. So
I suppose that brings up another question. How big a fireworks brigade can you have in this?
well, the game, and that's also a thing. The game don't have any limits, so you can spawn and fire off as much as your hardware can handle. And the game is what I've of course tried to do, and also what I hear from people. It's very well optimized in the way that it can actually handle a lot. That's of course mainly thanks to Unity, the game engine I'm using. But I also did a lot of stuff to make it perform as good as possible. but you can make any computer lag and freeze for some time. It's just a matter of how patient you are with dropping stuff in the streets here. But I've seen people fill the entire town with propane tanks and stuff like that. um, People go nuts, and you would think I would get thousands of bug reports complaining about the game crashing, but that's again hitting the right audience, because when people filled up a street with propane tanks, if the game crashes, they kind of know why. Often it's often people have it like a goal to. I've seen many streams trying to close their stream with breaking the game, and most of them fail, because it is actually pretty. If you have a really good computer, it's actually pretty hard to crash the game. But the best the best sample I've seen of it is Lyric, which is, I didn't know him, but I think it's pronounced Lyric, a big Twitch streamer with some millions of followers. I can't remember exactly, but he have a very nice clip where I have a nice clip of him um, blowing up the gas station, and while it blows up, he just, in the middle of a scream, the stream just stops. Boom. So it's a perfectly cut scream there in the stream. That was really nice, and people loved it. I watched his Twitter later on, and people were just, "That's the best ending of a stream I ever seen." Just him screaming, and then this stream just stopped. So that's also what this game can do. It is a silly game in that matter, in that sense, right? And most people get that and play it like that. So
Not surprised one bit. Because
I have two questions from what I'm watching. Well, the first one is from what you said, which is there a way to like download and share your setups in any kind of way? I think you said there was something like that.
well, that's what I'm working on.
Okay. And the second thing is, when I'm seeing Petty Fan using the serial igniting fuse thingy,
Mm-hmm.
um, it seems it travels at a fixed speed like a fuse does. But is there any way to make it so that you can set up like a split fuse so it
Mm-hmm.
ignites two things at the same time that aren't next to each other?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you can scroll the mouse wheel and you will change the fuse.
Ah, okay.
So the green one is the slowest one, and then there is a red one and a yellow one and a white one, and the white one is an instant one.
Okay.
So you can have multiple fuses to a piece of fireworks. So yeah, you can split it around.
Okay. I just wasn't sure because it seemed like you usually want to try and set it up with, or a lot of the time you want to set it off so that like something in the middle goes and then things on both sides go at
Yeah,
the same
yeah,
time.
yeah. And one thing people also complain about, or ask to have added, is some kind of way to see how long it. The thing is that the fuses are speed based now, and that means that they burn at, like, let's say 5 meters per second, for instance. So that means that the distance, the type of fuse compared with the distance, that's the way you calculate how fast it will go, or how long it will take to get from point A to point B. The thing is, you cannot see how long it is, and you can't do that calculation. So I might have to add something at some point, so you can kind of maybe look at a fuse, or some way of showing, okay, this will take like 7.2 seconds or whatever, so you can kind of time it a little better. But again, that's the approach I took here. It needs to be fast and fun. So this is good enough for that. And then I add these details later on, like the timing and stuff, so you can actually see that and stuff like that. But the fusing thing is a funny thing, because that's one of the thing I tried one of the VR games. I think it was Pyro VR, and you can also fuse things there. But the problem is that it's so freaking hard to do, because you have to um, to actually hit the fuse, which a weird straight fuse, and it's super weird, and you spend so much time angling and battling the physics of the game to make that fuse sit the right place. So that's why, and that annoyed me when I played that. So that's why I had to figure out something in this game that was fast, because the fun factor is above, realism in this game. Um, so that's why I came up with this fuse connection tool, where you just zip it and you can basically hold the mouse in and then just drag it over all these fireworks that light up, and you don't even have to hit the yellow little thingy. You can just hit the fireworks and it will find its way itself. Again, to make it fast. So
Mhm.
yep.
Well, I mean, how careful do you have to be in this game? Like, can you actually blow yourself up if you're caught in the explosion?
Yeah, well, yeah, you will shake, but you won't die. You don't have any health or anything. Again, this is the sandbox way of doing things, you can say, but um, it doesn't mean that I cannot in the future maybe add some missions where you have to complete something where you might have health so you can fail and stuff like that. But in the current game, you can't die. You might fall through the ground due to some physics bugs if you are really crazy, but there is some mechanism in place so we just get up again, respawn.
Are those
Um,
flamingos fireworks or just things to blow up?
just things to blow up.
Okay, I wasn't sure.
Again, to be silly, basically. And it also have Easter eggs. I've put in some Easter eggs also, and there's 2 Easter eggs in this map, and I put them in to see how people's reaction, and that turned out to be a really good idea because it generates so much content or people talking to each other in the Discord and in comments and stuff like that, and it also gives a little. I don't have it in the final version actually, but in the demo there was a loading screen saying, did you find the 2 Easter eggs? Um, but I took it out in the real game because I wanted to wait off with that till I had some more and stuff like that. But I might add it again to make new players aware of that. But there are 2 Easter eggs. There are a big bomb in this game, and then there are a 10-meter flamingo hidden.
Huh.
So
Yeah.
people go and hunt these things. So I will definitely do more of that. It because that's also kind of when there right now there are no achievements either, but stuff like Easter eggs and achievements and stuff like that. Uh, it's not a traditional game where you have to beat level 1, 2, 3 and the boss and la 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 la. Um, I see this game more as a sandbox with these things added onto it somehow. I haven't seen it done before, so it might be a bad idea, but for a game like this, I think it could make sense just to have achievements, blow up 10 mailboxes and find this and this and this hidden stuff and all that stuff. Apparently, people really like exploring the maps and finding these hidden things. But let's see.
I suppose so. And in terms of maps, is it just the one map, or are there multiple maps,
There are 2 maps
and are
right now. There are a range, and then there are this town here. Um, the these assets you see here, the environment assets is something I paid for. But that's also why some of them you will see in other games. That's very commonly done by small indie developers, by me because you don't have time to do all this stuff. I don't even have the skills to do all this stuff. So some people make these asset flips, as you might know, where you just get a package like this. You put in a first-person controller, and then you call it a survival game, and then you sell it for $2 or something like that.
oh,
But
some,
that's the asset flip version.
yes,
That's not what you want to do.
yeah. Sometimes
So
it's not
hmm?
like they'll just get a prepackaged game basically,
Yeah,
and
yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
like that.
full-fledged games, with basic stuff, and it's sold as a starting point to make your own game, but a lot of lazy developers just publish that. And that's also
Yeah,
why there are so many freaking bad games on Steam. But anyway, um, I think I did the right thing of paying my weight out of something that isn't that important or unique to my game. This is basically just a town. That's fine. That could be a shooter. It could be a strategy game. It could be a lot of stuff. But I added my own stuff. This you can blow stuff up, and I have the fireworks and all the fireworks models, and the little torch tool and all that. I made that myself. So these are custom made for this game because that's the things that make this game unique. So I think this is a great balance of having paid asset to save time, and then have your own custom stuff on top of that. So what I'm going at is that right now there are 2 levels, but I have a lot of other assets and other different kind of environments I can build later on. So I also plan to add that at some point. So we have
Okay.
some environments.
There, what about the music? Is there music in this game?
Nope. Nope, there are no music in the game currently. Some people have said, well, it's a little quiet sometimes because you feel a little alone and stuff like that. So I have actually thought about and have it on my to do kind of as I said, I'm from the 80s, so I was a kid in the 90s. So a Walkman was a thing back then. So I was actually thinking of adding a Walkman to the tools menu, so you can pick that and then maybe pick from 5 different songs, so you could listen to that like you were wearing a Walkman in the game. And also, it could be fun to do it as a Walkman because kids today wouldn't know what it was. They would say like, "Is it a phone or whatever?" Um, and then they could maybe have a chat with their parents to tell them that it's not. It's a Walkman. We used it, and it could only play for 2 hours, and then you have to put new batteries in, and you have to rewind and all that stuff.
Back in
But
my day.
yeah,
Like, geez, even in the '90s, the Walkman was being replaced by the Discman.
yeah, exactly. And mini disc later on. Yeah,
And
yeah.
well, I mean, mini discs were a thing, but
Mhm.
mini discs didn't replace anything, despite what
Yeah.
Sony wanted.
Yeah,
Black. Like,
yeah.
anyway, so in terms of computer formats, is this game Windows only, or are there builds for Mac and Linux as well?
There are only it only supports Windows right now. In theory, I could build it for Linux and for Mac. That would most likely be pretty straightforward, seen from a technical point of view, because it's a Unity game. However, I'm not doing it because, at least not yet, because as I said, I'm still heavily actively developing this game. So to keep the update iterations, the release of updates, and the speed of development as fast as possible, it's much quicker just to stick with one platform. Because if I put out 2 more platforms, first of all, sales wise, I don't think there is so much to get from Linux and Mac. At least not enough to make it worthwhile lowering the development cost, because even though I can build it, it would result in more, issues, people getting back with things. Oh, it doesn't work on my old Mac. It doesn't work on this Linux build and stuff like that. And I have no resources to support that. So 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 that's why I'm keeping it on Windows for now. Not saying it never will get to the other platforms, but right now it won't, in the near future, at least. So Windows
Okay.
only.
All right. I think that's about it for me. I'll see if my colleagues here have any more questions for you.
I think I'm good.
Yeah, I'm good.
All right then.
Cool.
Well, um, well, it was wonderful having you in our program today, and for you to be taking time out of your schedule and being with us to talk about your game. Um, I certainly enjoyed hearing about the development of Fireworks Mania, like, and interested to see what develops and what may or may not occur in the near and far future. Anyway, in the meantime, the game is Fireworks Mania. It is available now on Steam. usual price is $12, $11.99 USD, but it's currently 10% off. I think that's the Lunar New Year sale.
Yeah.
Currently, it's running for $10.79. So be sure to pick it up today. And yeah, that'll about do it for this installment of Fragments of Silicon. As always, be sure to join us for the Sunday reviews. And until then, I shall wish you good gaming.